Hello, and welcome back for the next episode of our alumni interview series, Brewer Reflections. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Allie Dorris, a member of the class of 1999 and a former standout on the women's soccer team. So as is the case with all of our episodes, I'm going to take a moment to do a quick humble brag about Allie's career, whether she likes it or not. So during her career, she helped lead the Brewers to a 43-24-2 overall record. The team advanced to 3 straight ECAC championship appearances, in addition to the 1997 Seven Sisters championship title. So individually, Allie was not only a 4-time NSCAA All-Region honoree, but continues to hold some of the most impressive offensive records in program history, including all-time career goals with 67, assists with 29, and points with 163. She also owns the season records in each category, 1 and 2. So I could go on forever, but I'm going to stop there and actually let Allie speak. So Allie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm joining you from Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I'm currently sheltering in place with my mom and my partner.
Excellent. So I want to start off, our conversation today. Can you tell me a little bit about what brought you to Vassar College?
Yeah. So my mother is class of 62. My sister is class of 91. And actually, I'm working in my parents' office. She's graciously let me work here for a while. And I found, this is my mom. There's the Vassar seal.
Oh, wonderful.
And that's my mom's name, Nancy, in Dunstan. So this is hers. Mine is, of course, at home in San Francisco, which is where I live permanently. But with the smoke and fires, it was a better choice to have some clean air.
Absolutely.
So tons of family legacy there. Knew a lot about the amazing school and organization. And my dad went to West Point, which is just down the road from,
Absolutely, yep.
from you. So that was it. And then knowing sort of as you go through the interview process and you learn more about the people and the structure and the soccer program, that sealed the deal.
Absolutely. So for you, what made your experience at Vassar so special?
Yeah, I was reflecting on this and it's interesting because now I'm 20 plus years out. And it's like networking and the people side of things is so important to my career and to my life and to my well-being. Even then at Vassar, it was the personal connections. And I do have a few examples. It's across the board. So let me just start with like my friends, my peers, the people who are there with me. Today, 2 of my besties are still from Vassar from those days.
Of course.
Hello, Marguerite. Hello, Calvin, if you get to see this. But then let's go to the professors. I don't know if he's there anymore, but like I had a professor, I was an economics major, and he was always willing to do office hours with me and spend extra time with me. And he loved power bars. That was his thing. Power bars, right? This is a long time ago. And he was always willing to give you some, like, do you want to like try it? It's so good. And fast forward, like whatever, 15 years later, I work at like one of the competitors to Power Bar called Cliff Bar, which is an energy bar company.
Yes.
I actually think, I don't know, you probably weren't there during the time, but I definitely have sent some Cliff Bars to the Vassar athletic community at one time. So that's on the professor level. And then, and even like the president of the college came to a lot of my games. You know, she was a fan of the women's soccer program. And you know, we got collectively, we got wrote up in is it the Poughkeepsie Journal? Is that the local newspaper?
Yep.
And you know, she cut out articles when she saw them and sent me a cute little note and rooting us on. And you heard we did do some cool things back in the day. And just thinking of lifelong connections, for the people of my generation, her name, you know, President Ferguson, we're still pals. We were just on a Zoom call a few weeks ago, checking in on each other because it's the pandemic.
That's amazing.
So connections that resonates, and it resonates today.
Yeah. And you know what, that's, from all the folks that I've talked to since we've started this series, that has literally been the most common and passionate theme, has been the connections of, where you're going to find those Vassar folks across the world, and how you're going to connect with them. It doesn't matter if you were classmates or if you're generations apart. Vassar just somehow finds each other.
That's right. Just wait till you get to the end of my story. Cliffhanger, keep watching. There's another Vassar connection and it's huge.
So talk to me a little bit about, this one's going to be tough because obviously in the beginning I talked about all the amazing things that you and the team did, but talk to me a little bit about your favorite memory at Vassar. And it can be sport or non-sport, which is always a tough one, but let's see where we go here.
Totally. Tons and tons of great memories, of course. But because I'm with my mom and she went to Vassar, I decided to invite her to do sort of a humble brag for me.
Absolutely.
She came out to a lot of soccer games. You can ask all of my pals from the soccer team. They probably remember my parents. And it was, I'll do a little bit of the setup. Because I'd love you to tell me, it was something called the Seven Sisters Tournament.
Yep.
Do you still, I think it was retired, but I'm not sure. Is that program still around?
It was retired after the 2018-19 season.
Oh, it was retired after the 2018-2019 season. Okay. So I'm going to bring in my mom into the photo. Hi, Mom. Thanks for joining us. Lean in a little. This is Nancy Dorris. She's, like I said, class of 62, active Vassar member. Still, her besties are also a lot of her Vassar connections.
Wonderful.
Right.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes. This is early, but
so this is the there you go. This is the sort of what was the experience. So it's a soccer tournament, it's the weekend, it's Seven Sisters, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And I don't think the girls had ever beaten Wellesley. And you know, at the time, now you have great athletic facilities, but when Allie was there, they didn't even have a porta potty out at the field. I mean, it was awful. And I said, who was I'm trying to think of the director of athletics, a guy, Andy Jennings.
Yeah.
And I said before Allie said she would go, I said, look, if you don't fix those fields, I'm not going to have her break her ankle because of the potholes in those fields. And anyway, he said, oh, of course, we're going to have great facilities, but they never
We direct a lot of our donations to the Vassar athletics program.
Yeah. I just sent a check. I told Eric Watson, I just sent a check, Eric. But anyway, so at this game, and I think it was 0-0. I mean, they had good teams, and they came in a big Greyhound bus, you know, and they had their stadium, those full length, you know, stadium thing.
Oh yeah, like really nice jerseys or whatever. They were well funded, I think.
Very well funded, and we were so shoestringy at the time. But anyway, we wanted to beat them badly. And I think it was 0-0. And there were like 2 minutes left in the game. And Allie was always a cherry picker. So a defender and the goalie made a mistake. Allie was on that ball so quick, boom, it was in the back of the net before you could blink. Yeah, and the Wellesley coach, who hardly ever even watched the game, he was so nonchalant about it, you know. He was up on his feet, screaming, yelling, but Vassar kept the ball for those 2 minutes. We won the game, and well, at the time they said that was going to be the last Seven Sisters soccer game, and we then got to retire the trophy. So here we'd never won anything in this. And the last game we win the trophy, and it was
exciting.
So Allie and I, at the time, I used to drive back to Vassar with her a lot, and we would be listening to like Joseph Campbell and all that. And I remember, I mean, Joseph Campbell, he's a smart guy, but he told his peak experience was an athletic one. He thought, the perfect race at Columbia. And he said he never thought he would ever feel anything as wonderful, you know, where everything came together. And anyway, so
seems like a tie to that experience of winning, of it all for the whole team, really. I mean, we're saying it's my peak experience, and my mom got to see it, but even for the whole team, we were all just thrilled to win. And
Absolutely.
it was kind of incredible that we beat Wellesley. So, well, thanks for sharing. Yes.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Tell her I'm talking to.
Go ahead. It's okay.
I'm talking to Eric on Monday.
Oh, she's talking to Eric, another Vassar connection on Monday.
Absolutely.
We love the Vassar people.
It's actually really funny. So although my time so far at Vassar has been brief since I got here, as we talked before, I was at Mount Holyoke. So there's definitely a Seven Sister spirit between everyone. Whether, obviously I was very close with Smiths, because Mount Holyoke and Smith are basically right next to each other in Massachusetts. And yeah, I will admit there was a moment where, the field hockey team at Mount Holyoke beat Wellesley on their field for the first time in history. And it's still a date, even, I think, oh my gosh, what is it? At least 3 or 4 years later, that is celebrated just that date on that field. So, obviously Wellesley has a rich tradition and rich history, but that Seven Sister spirit, I think, is just still very much alive in
Awesome.
people's memories. So
that's what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. So are there, in addition to beating Wellesley, which is a common celebratory, exciting favorite memory, is there a favorite a non-sport memory, or anything, any other memories that you want to share?
Yeah. Well, I sort of want to craft it into the sort of how did your athletic experience at Vassar sort of help you?
Absolutely.
I kind of want to craft it into that a little bit, which is, and it does touch on some other stuff that I did at Vassar. I think Vassar taught me how to be efficient and productive. And being a student athlete, I think, taught me that. So, not only do you have your full load of coursework, but then with I would guesstimate 20 hours a week goes into your soccer.
Yeah,
career.
Absolutely.
Between games, drive time, physical therapy, I was always getting beaten up. So I was in the physical therapy a lot. It takes a lot of time and commitment and team events and all of that. On top of it, I love to sing. And you probably know Vassar has awesome a cappella groups, lots of them, so good. And I was evaluating A, am I good enough? Do I have a good enough voice? But B, do I have the time? And I didn't have the time. Like those a cappella groups, at least at the time, there were schedules and you had to stick to them. And I just wouldn't be able to make that happen. And I discovered the gospel choir. And I am actually not religious, but the gospel choir allowed me to join them when I could. They allowed me to sing with them. And I remember being in the chapel, getting to sing for some events. And I even remember the song. It was called, I think, I Write Your Name, something like that. And I don't even think that one's religious. And we just nailed it. And everybody we just nailed it. We were at the level of some of your best a cappella groups on that day. It's almost like another peak experience, maybe, but in a non-athletic way. But trying to fit all that stuff in is really hard. But I love singing. I still love singing. We do karaoke parties, that kind of thing in my world. So I think that's sort of favorite memory, and also you learn to just balance it all. And that's helped me in my career everywhere.
Yeah, well, I'm right there with you because I love singing. I was a singer in high school, all through high school, and then when I got into college, there wasn't enough time for me to be able to do that and be involved in the other things that I wanted to be in. So I am right there with you on that one. In terms of, you've touched on it a little bit, but what did your time as a student athlete mean to you?
Well, I mean, I think that's it. I think it was really rewarding. It gave me something, let's talk about that team. that team, those were some of my best friends at Vassar, and we supported each other, and it was an automatic. I still remember like some of the first days when I was a freshman, and it's intimidating, and you're trying to figure out who's going to be your pals, and when you play a sport, you basically have a team. You have people that you have, at least you already know you have something in common.
Yeah.
And then you figure it out, right? Maybe not everybody, but some of them. And that I think is really helpful in transitioning. And I think we can touch on it a little bit later, but I think teamwork resonates for me in everything I do.
Absolutely.
All the way in the past 20 years. Teamwork is huge, and you kind of learn those fundamental skills of how to lead and how to be a part of a team and bring people along with you. So that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that any generation of student athlete can say is those skills are so important as you go forward in life. So let's talk a little bit about after graduation. So what path did you take after graduation? And then I'm going to combine it into, what are you doing now? So we can, just expand on that portion.
Yeah. So senior year, like just feeling awesome, rocked it at Vassar. I've got this great education. I was the captain of the soccer team. Come out, go to Los Angeles, get sort of at the time, I would say my dream job. I was a production assistant in entertainment for music videos, commercials. And what that means is you're the bottom of the team. You are, you went from being the captain of the team to I was doing the Starbucks runs for celebrities, for non-celebrities, for anybody. I was balancing Starbucks in my cars. And it was, I'll say it was a dream job in the sense that like, I had Garth Brooks in my car. Within a few weeks of being in LA, I happened to be at the same bar that Madonna was at. So imagine a 22-year-old.
Okay, like, that's kind of cool.
This is fun. Like, this is fun. And just kind of see personalities and get to meet people that you wouldn't really have access to was really cool. But I made like $19,000 for the year. So it was like not really a sustainable path. So I actually, after that, it was a great couple, I think it was a year and a half. I was advised that like, maybe I should go get a MFA, a Master of Fine Arts in motion picture producing, if I wanted to sort of be on more the business side of things. So I went to USC and did that for 2 years. Awesome. I learned how to tell stories, right? It's definitely a filmmaker program. It's producing, it's budgeting, scheduling, marketing, writing. I had to act. You have to like kind of learn all aspects of film.
Wow.
I left there. I worked at HBO. I was in business affairs there. And after that, I was a voiceover producer for video games. For gamers out there, most people would know there was a Halo franchise.
Yeah.
That I worked on many of those games. And as a voiceover producer, what you're doing, I mean, imagine now, remember I said I love singing. I love voice, and I love so what is a video game? Well, we would, I did everything. I wore every hat. I was a producer for this company. But we would hire actors to play the game characters, their voices. So, and there's a story. Like a video game is just like a film. And so you're just you're hiring the voice director, the recording studio, and then also combine it back to film. A lot of times they would do filming because they wanted behind the scenes footage of the making of the process.
Yep.
Continuation of getting to work with really cool, talented people, lots of celebrities, super fun. However, it was somewhat of that voiceover producer role was somewhat of a terminal job. Like I didn't know how I was going to grow, how I was, if I, eventually want to be CEO and have influence and leadership over as many people as I possibly can, which is my goal. How do I do that? So I reflected for a while. And I decided I was going to pivot, and I used business school to do that. So I got an MBA. I focused on finance. Let me tie this back to Vassar and soccer. One thing that I wasn't ready for in college, I just wasn't ready to do it, was do like an exchange program abroad. And in part, I just it wasn't my mindset, but also like I chose to stay there for the spring season for whatever sports. I think I played lacrosse one season. I did stuff with the soccer program. But what I discovered at like the age of 30 or whatever age I was, is that you can go back to business school and do an exchange program. So I did 3 semesters at USC, and I did 1 semester at HEC, in Juillan-Josas in Paris. So I lived for 4 months as a more wiser person. I was older, so hopefully wiser. And it was just dreamy. It was awesome.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
I mean, we had no money because I was in business school full time. So I did not have a job. I just had the debt that's coming up with that. And fortunately for that experience abroad, my partner quit her job and basically was an artist in residence in Paris. While I went to business school, she found a little artist studio and she trained with the local artists.
Wow. All right.
Yeah. So it just goes to show, even if you're not like ready or choose to not do an exchange program at the time, you can still find, you're going to hear this, I think, theme. You can still find ways to do it and experience it at other times in your life.
Yeah. I mean, you're never too old to reinvent yourself.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So what are you doing now?
So after business school, I go to Taco Bell corporate. Amazing 4 years, sort of rotational program where got to see all lenses of really the restaurant business, because Taco Bell, some are corporate owned, but a lot of are franchisees. I did a lot of work on P&L work, looking at our franchise base. I helped introduce a new day part to Taco Bell. We were at the time exploring breakfast that day part, which is really interesting. And then I worked in a group called Strategic Development and Analysis. And that's the group that's deciding, like, where do we put the next Taco Bell? What plot, what city, what town, what plot, how many right turns is it? How big can the drive-through stack be? Really interesting stuff. And do we think we would make a return on investment going into that area? So that was Taco Bell. Then I moved on to, that was in Los Angeles. I then relocated to join a company called Cliff Bar, which is an energy bar company. I worked on the Luna brand and a lot of international expansion thoughts, like what bar. They have a ton of brands, right? So they have Cliff, Luna, Z-Bar, Shot Blocks, Gels, Cliff Kid. What makes sense to grow internationally? What country do you go into next? How do sizes different? Like in the US, we do like Costco size super packs, but in France, they might not have as much space. They might want a 3-pack or a 6-pack.
Right.
Like understanding cultural nuances. And remember, I had lived in Paris for 4 months, so I got a lot of experience in understanding there are definitely cultural differences in how we operate. Which you experience a little bit differently when you live there versus vacationing there. So I spent 4 years at Cliff Bar. Amazing company, love that company. And today I am the vice president of sales operations at an organization called Open Table, which is a booking holdings company. So we're a public company, part of Booking.com, Kayak, Priceline.
Okay.
Open Table, like we're all in it together, but I work for Open Table.
Nice.
Yes.
And you love it.
And I love it. And do you want to, so let me bring back another Vassar connection.
Absolutely.
So I've loved all my companies. I've had a lot of joyful experiences. Um, so I'm loving Cliff Bar, like just nailing my job and doing great. And really, people appreciate my work. And I approached Vassar grad Andrea Johnston, who also has some of the Vassar awards for soccer. She's class of 92. Mm-hmm. She is at Open Table at the time, going back a few years, 3 years ago. And they have a job opening. I say, hey, I think I could be a really good fit for that. Will you give me a shot? And I probably wasn't I know I was an out of the box candidate. And it was a very long interview process, lots of vetting and interviews. But I got the job, and it's the best job I've ever had in my entire life. She took a chance on me. She gave me a shot. And, 3 years later, I am in like the same position I was at Cliff, like just love what I do. I'm appreciated for what I do. It feels meaningful. And it's amazing. So there's the connection right back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is amazing. When you find, no matter how good you've had it before, when you find that one thing that it just lights you up, you can't help but feel awesome with it.
It's not like it's like I don't even work. It's so much fun. Like if you can find that job that you just like get up and you're fired up for it, not to say that there aren't ups and downs. There are. Right. There are stresses, but it's just holistically, let me tell you holistically what my team does. What does sales operations do? We support our sales force. And we are just trying to help people be the best they can be. That's my whole team. I have about a team of 50 plus. That's my whole team's job, is to help people be the best they can be. Who doesn't want to be on that team?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And what does that mean? Like if you go into the what and the how, a salesperson, they're the best they can be when they're productive, when they're selling, they're able to, sell correctly, get it done quickly. And so that's like the nuts and bolts of it, is like, how do we give them the tools, the training, to be awesome? And that's my job.
That does sound perfect.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing. For me, it fits my personality. Like I think the number one thing I was really excited about was just the opportunity to lead a big team at Open Table. In addition to be obviously a heavy user of the product. It helps if you really like the product, and I really like the product. But yeah, it's growing and developing people is pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, in your job, that's athletics, right? You're trying to build high performing teams, high performing athletes, thinking about every, piece of it. Like, it's great.
It is. It really is. And, I think this leads really well into the next question. And I know you've kind of talked about it through this whole interview in terms of connections, but for you, what is the lasting impact that Vassar has had on your life?
Yeah, I think it ties right into like being in the position I'm in today. Like this, the job I have today, I would say I am now in a position where, I think I said earlier, I want to continue to influence and lead and help the world kind of in the biggest way that I can. And this job has given me, in some ways, I've developed the confidence that I know I can do it. I may not be on the fastest path to that. I don't know. I love my job, so that's not the priority at the moment. But like, I know I can do it, and it ties back to Andrea, my boss. It ties back to Vassar. It ties back to my mother and sister. It's a pretty rewarding experience, and it started there.
Absolutely. And I mean, how can you ask for anything better than that?
I don't think you can.
You can't.
I don't think you can.
So one of the things that obviously, so we're in a pandemic. really tough time social justice wise, and figuring out, who we are as a nation. And as you well know, Vassar students are very passionate and very deliberate towards their causes. And so obviously right now they're kind of being hit in every direction. And one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask our alums is, for you, what advice or actually, I think it really is what advice would you give to, today's student athlete about, kind of the world that we're going through? Because I think, and I talked about this with another alum, is that I think every generation, no matter who you are, everybody goes through something different that's trying on them. And it just happens right now that we have so many different things coming at this generation at once. So from your perspective and all that you've gone through in whether it was, student athlete wise and in your career, what advice would you give to Vassar students today?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, the pandemic, yes, it's very, I don't know if somebody famous said this or not, but I always think of it that we're all experiencing it, but we're all in different boats.
Yes.
Like you said, the Vassar population is largely, it's a closed campus. I've been sheltering in place in Minneapolis for a couple months now, and then before that I was in San Francisco for many months. And being fortunate, just being fortunate to have a job, right? And those things I'm very grateful for. So I think a few things. One, I just want to go on pandemic. Mindfulness is really top of mind for me. And it's the coaching. I do a resilience series with my team every Monday. I'm picking different mindfulness topics, and we are practicing together collectively as a team. It's so great. And it all builds on itself. The more you do it, the more impact you have, the more you can control your anxiety that you probably all of us are feeling. Right?
Most definitely, yes.
Yeah. And like not having the bandwidth to at least for people, I think maybe not the Vassar population, but probably you just don't have as much tolerance for the stressors of life because of the additional stress of the pandemic. So I have found that mindfulness has been extremely great. I recommend it. I think even if we weren't in a pandemic, I'm still going to do it. 2, career-wise, I think the key to my success, and I think the key to other people like me that I've seen, is you don't have to have it figured out. Like I would argue that I did not have it figured out coming out of college. I think some of my peers did. I mean, I look at their career and they were just like, I'm going to be a consultant or I'm going to be an investment banker. And now I see them. I'm thinking of one of my colleagues. He's on TV talking about the markets all the time. And I'm just like, yeah, go Matt. My career isn't quite like that. I've had how many different industries? I've been in the entertainment industry. I've been in the fast food industry. I've been in the consumer packaged goods industry. Now I'm in the technology industry at a technology firm that services the hospitality industry, restaurants. Yeah. So there is a restaurant theme. There is a theme of being able to tell stories. That was the film school with numbers. That all ties together. But you can see it's not like I wasn't an investment banker, but I did spend a semester in an investment bank, but or a summer. Yeah. So I didn't have it figured out, but I have made it work. I have tied it together. I have figured out how to take calculated risks. Like I said, I took the calculated risk leaving the awesome job at Cliff Bar to join Open Table. And although it was the riskiest decision of my life at the time, it was the best decision of my life. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think be flexible. That would be my point. But if you have it dialed in, that's awesome. You're probably going to be further along at the same age than I am. And if you don't, I think you can pivot. There's always a chance to, I think you said it earlier, to reinvent yourself or tie it back. and say, the be flexible. And also when you get those opportunities to do sort of special projects, when you raise your hand for that and you do well, typically I have seen that leads to promotions. So if you're looking to have a career path where you're kind of like me, I'm trying to climb my way to the CEO role, you have to take those extra assignments.
Yeah, absolutely.
Equally valid if you want to be a pro in place. I know a lot of the Vassar students are super smart. You can be a data scientist, an analyst, be a PhD eventually, and that's awesome too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got more tips. Can I keep going?
Sure. Let's keep it rolling.
Okay. Third one that's really important. You're, somewhere between 18 and 22, presumably most people. I actually looked it up. I know you guys are doing a lot with voting and registering to vote, and that is critical. And you're at that age, and I think through the world events of the past few years, I'm sure it is ingrained in your brain that voting matters. And I know everybody says it, but I'm saying it too. Register to vote and vote. And then my last piece, since it's October, and I am a breast cancer survivor. I'm breast cancer free, but I did have breast cancer and was able to work through it in spite of doing everything, lots of therapy. Just remember to take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. See your doctors when you need to. Do your checkups. And that's my piece on that.
Hey, that's the best. That's probably the best advice right now that you can give, honestly. And for those of you who are watching, remember, especially the folks at Vassar, we do have the Vassar Votes campaign. You can find it on Instagram as well. So just really encouraging people to get out there, register. If you're past the registration, still keep finding ways to be involved. But yeah, vote because it's the most basic right you have as an American citizen. So take advantage of it. Allie, you are not only an amazing soccer player, you are literally an amazing human being. Just from this conversation, I can literally tell you that. It's a hands down easy decision, hit the buzzer and that one's done. Thank you so much for joining me. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I hope that, everything that we talked about, which has such great information, really resonates with, not just student athletes here at Vassar, but with, the student population, and just showing them that, no matter what your path is, you're going to be able to find that success. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy. It's lovely. And I figure, one of the reasons not only do I love Vassar, but, hey, if anything that I said resonated, I always say like, hey, this is just my experience, but if anything resonated, use your own awesome brain and take the tips that work for you and use others when you need them. Absolutely. So everybody who's watching, thank you so much. And please remember to tune in next month as we have an all new feature for Brewer Reflections. Bye.